Captain Ethan Ryder had seen many strange worlds in his career, but nothing had prepared him for Zyphora. From the moment his shuttle descended through the planet's teal skies, he felt like he had stepped into a living painting. Forests glowed softly in shades of green and gold, rivers shimmered like liquid crystal, and in the distance, floating cities hovered effortlessly above the land, connected by bridges that sparkled in the sunlight. Ethan's jaw tightened as the shuttle touched down on a platform that hummed with quiet energy. He checked his uniform, straightened his jacket, and tried to steady his nerves. The Council of Zyphora had invited humans to join their interstellar coalition, but he had been warned that this world was unlike any other he had visited. The doors slid open with a gentle hiss, and a wave of cool, fragrant air washed over him. The scent was floral, almost sweet, but not overwhelming. Ethan stepped out and scanned the crowd of aliens waiting to greet him. Cypherans were tall and graceful, their skin ranging from pale silver to deep violet with eyes that shimmered in colors that shifted depending on the light. "Captain Ryder," a voice called. It was melodic but firm. Ethan turned and his heart skipped a beat. She stood there smiling, radiating confidence and charm. Liara. He had heard of her. She was one of Zyphora's top diplomats, known for her quick wit, intelligence, and fearless personality. And now, according to the council, she was his assigned mate. Ethan blinked. Assigned mate? His voice sounded harsher than he intended. "Yes," Liara said, her smile widening. "You're mine. I've been expecting you. The council has determined that we are highly compatible." Ethan took a step back instinctively. "Wait, compatible?" "Yes, don't worry," she said, waving a delicate hand. "I've already prepared everything. We just need to begin the bonding process. And then, of course, we can start planning our wedding trip." Ethan's eyes widened. His mind raced. Wedding trip? Bonding process? This is insane. "Excuse me," he said, forcing himself to remain polite. I think there's been some kind of mistake. I wasn't told anything about marriage or bonding. I'm just a human captain here on a diplomatic mission." Liara laughed lightly, a sound that was both musical and teasing. "No mistake, Captain Ryder. The Council assigns mates to strengthen the ties between our worlds. It's tradition. It's logical. And you, my dear human, are very lucky." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "Lucky? I think you mean trapped." Liara tilted her head, her shimmering eyes reflecting amusement. "Not trapped, chosen. There's a big difference. Besides, I promise it will be fun. You'll see." He swallowed hard. Fun was not the word he would use for a lifelong pairing with an alien diplomat, who already considered him her partner. But before he could respond, a Zyphoran council member stepped forward. "Captain Ryder, we are pleased that you have arrived safely. As part of your induction into our coalition, you will undergo the bonding ceremony within the next 2 days. Your mate Liara will guide you through the process." Ethan's stomach sank. 2 days? "Yes," Liara said brightly. "Plenty of time to get comfortable. And don't worry, I've prepared a welcome tour of the city, and afterward we can discuss the wedding destinations. I've picked 3 options already." Ethan blinked. You already have a wedding planned?" "Of course." Liara clapped her hands together, excitement shining in her eyes. "I was told you were arriving today. I couldn't wait to start planning. We'll visit the floating gardens, then the crystal lakes, and finally the volcanic springs. Each location has its own ceremony tradition. It'll be unforgettable." Ethan ran a hand across his face. "I don't even know you. How can you—" "You will," Liara interrupted gently, though her smile never faded. "The bonding process will help with that. You'll understand me and I'll understand you. And then everything will be simple. Ethan wasn't sure anything about this was simple. But before he could argue further, Liara took his hand and gently pulled him toward one of the floating lifts that would carry them to the city above. The city was breathtaking. Structures floated in the air as if by magic, connected by bridges that glimmered with energy. Cypherans moved effortlessly, gliding along paths or hovering above them. Ethan had to admit, despite his anxiety, it was unlike anything he had ever seen. Liara chattered happily, pointing out landmarks and explaining the history of each. Ethan nodded politely, but his mind kept drifting back to the idea of being bonded to her forever. "I can survive space battles, alien predators, and deadly missions," he thought. "But a lifetime with someone I barely know? That's terrifying." By evening, they arrived at Liara's residence, a sleek structure of crystal and metal that glowed softly. She opened the doors and waved him inside. "Welcome home, mate," she said, her voice warm. Ethan froze. Home? She called this home for both of them. I don't know if I'm ready for this, he admitted, stepping cautiously into the space. Liara's expression softened. You don't have to be ready yet. We have time, but I promise once you understand Zypheran ways, you might find it not so bad. That night, Ethan tried to sleep, but his mind was restless. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about the countless worlds he had visited, the countless dangers he had faced, and now, the most unexpected challenge of all had arrived, being chosen, whether he wanted it or not, as a mate to a powerful alien diplomat who already considered their future together. As he drifted into a restless sleep, he didn't notice the faint glow outside the window, an unusual energy signature hovering in the city above. Something told him that this assignment was about more than just tradition or diplomacy. And somewhere deep in the heart of Zephora, a shadowy figure watched, waiting. Ethan Ryder, human captain of the starship Endeavor, had arrived on a world of wonder and danger, but he had no idea that his greatest test, one of courage, intellect, and heart, was only just beginning. The morning sun stretched over the floating city of Zephora, casting sparkling reflections on the crystalline streets. Ethan Ryder rubbed his eyes and sat up on the soft bioluminescent bedding of Liara's residence. He had slept little, his mind replaying the events of the previous day. Assigned as a mate? Bonded for life? Wedding trip already planned? It all felt like a dream, or a nightmare. But when he looked across the room, Liara was already awake. She floated near a window, her eyes sparkling as she traced the patterns of sunlight dancing on the city below. Good morning, mate, she said cheerfully. I hope you slept well. We have a full day ahead. First stop, the floating gardens, Ethan groaned softly. Full day? I barely slept. And I'm not sure I'm ready for all of this. Liara tilted her head, smiling. Ready? No one is ever fully ready for a bonding mate, especially not humans. But you'll learn. And I'll be there with you every step of the way. Ethan tried to breathe deeply and calm himself. He had survived hostile planets, toxic atmospheres, and alien predators. Surely he could survive one alien diplomat who was already imagining their honeymoon. They left the residence and stepped onto a levitating platform. Ethan still marveled at Zephora's technology. The lifts hovered without visible support, and energy flowed along bridges in soft pulses of light. Liara guided him through the city, pointing out landmarks and cultural monuments, her hand occasionally brushing his arm in a friendly gesture that sent a strange warmth through him. The floating gardens are more than just beauty, Liara explained. They are living archives. Each plant contains genetic memories of Zyphora's history. When you touch a flower, you can sense its story. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Touch a flower and get history? You're kidding, right? Liara laughed, a light musical sound. Try it and see for yourself. Reluctantly, Ethan reached out and touched one of the glowing plants. A sudden surge of images and feelings rushed into his mind. He saw Zyphora's founders planting the first seeds, wars and victories, celebrations and ceremonies spanning centuries. He stumbled back, overwhelmed. Whoa, he whispered. That's incredible. Liara's eyes shone. And that's just the beginning. You'll see. Humans have a lot to learn from Zypherans, but you also have special strengths. You'll surprise everyone. Despite himself, Ethan felt a flicker of pride. He had spent his life proving humans could adapt and survive where others failed. Perhaps here he could do more than survive. Perhaps he could thrive. The day continued with lessons in Zephyran etiquette, language nuances, and even their food, an array of glowing fruits that tasted sweet, sour, and spicy all at once. Ethan struggled, coughing a few times, but Liara's laughter eased the tension. You'll get used to it, she said. Humans are more resilient than we give you credit for. By afternoon, they reached the outskirts of the city, where a vast forest of floating bioluminescent trees waited. Liara held out her hand. Time for some bonding exercises, she said. Ethan's stomach sank. Bonding exercises? Yes, Liara said, smiling. Nothing dangerous. Just exercises to connect our minds and senses. Telepathic exercises, mostly. It helps with understanding, trust, and eventually, emotional compatibility. Ethan hesitated. Humans were not naturally telepathic, but he had learned to trust his instincts. He took her hand. feeling a strange pulse as their fingers touched. Suddenly his mind seemed to tingle with energy, as though the forest itself had awakened. Liara guided him to a small clearing. "Close your eyes," she instructed. "Focus on my presence. Feel my thoughts, not the words, just the intention. Don't resist." Ethan did as she asked, his skepticism warring with curiosity. Slowly he felt warmth. Not just warmth, but understanding. He could sense her thoughts, amusement at his hesitation, pride in his courage, and something deeper, a hope that he would accept this partnership. He opened his eyes, startled. I can feel something. Not words exactly, but emotion." Liara nodded. "Good, that's the beginning. Telepathy works better when there's trust. And trust comes with time." For the first time, Ethan felt a small flicker of connection. Perhaps this wouldn't be as impossible as he feared. Their practice was interrupted by a distant roar. Ethan turned sharply, scanning the treetops. A large creature, part reptile, part bird, with luminous wings, was barreling toward them. Its talons scraped the ground, sending glowing leaves flying. "Stay behind me," Ethan shouted instinctively. He pulled a small energy pistol from his belt, a standard human-issued defensive weapon. Liara's eyes widened. You are going to fight it?" "Yes," he said. "I protect my mate even if she thinks it's all fun and games." The creature lunged. Ethan fired, the pulse hitting its side. It shrieked and spun away, retreating into the forest canopy. Ethan exhaled sharply, adrenaline surging. Liara rushed to his side. I didn't expect that," she admitted. "Humans, you are brave and strong." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "You said humans are resilient." "I guess it's true," she laughed softly. "And now you see why the council wanted a human for this bond. You are different, special." Ethan felt a flush of pride, mixed with confusion. Different. Special. That was exactly what he feared and what he secretly hoped was true. As the sun dipped below the floating cities, Liara suggested they return to her residence. On the way back, she chatted about the upcoming bonding ceremony, explaining traditions in detail. Ethan listened, trying to absorb everything, but a nagging thought lingered. The shadowy figure he had sensed outside the city the night before. Something wasn't right. Back at the residence, dinner was a quiet affair. Ethan ate carefully, observing Liara as she moved through her home with ease. She seemed so confident, so sure of her place in the world, and he felt like a visitor, an outsider in a culture he barely understood. "Ethan," Liara said gently, breaking his thoughts, "you're thinking too much. Humans overthink things. That's fine, but sometimes you need to feel, not analyze." He looked at her, startled. "Feel? This is bonding? I'm not sure humans are wired for this kind of connection." Liara's eyes softened. "Perhaps not naturally, but humans are survivors. You learn quickly. You adapt. And in time, you will understand. I can see it already." For the first time that day, Ethan allowed himself a small smile. Maybe she was right. Humans had thrived against impossible odds. Maybe, just maybe, he could thrive here too, on this strange, beautiful world with this unusual, vibrant alien as his mate. That night, as he lay in the bioluminescent glow of the room, Ethan stared out at the floating city. He thought about the forest, the creature, and the strange pulse he had felt during the bonding exercise. He thought about Liara, fearless and teasing, already planning trips and ceremonies, already imagining their life together. And he realized something. He didn't like it, but he was starting to care. Outside, the city shimmered with lights, and shadows moved silently in places Ethan could not see. The rogue faction, the ones who opposed human Zephyr and unions, were watching. But for the first time, Ethan felt that he might have a chance. Not just to survive, but to protect, to bond, and maybe even to belong. Tomorrow, the real lessons would begin. Telepathy, culture, and survival were only the start. The dangers that had been hinted at were real, and he would face them, because humans didn't give up. Humans adapted, humans thrived, and Ethan Ryder, human captain, was determined to prove it here, on Zephora, with Liara at his side, whether he was ready for a wedding trip or not.